Hi all. So a lot of you have been asking me lately to do some more case studies just about what we experience in a day-to-day when we're doing saddle fitting and some of the common problems we come across. So I'm going to use my file. So I've got my little customer file here. I'm going to go over a couple of customers we've had over the last wee while, obviously not using names or anything like that, but just letting you know about the problems we encountered and how we overcame them. So today I'm going to talk about self-stabilising girths. So a self-stabilising girth is one like this, where they can be longer or shorter on either girth strap in order to counterbalance the saddle. So normally they're fully elastic through the centre, or they have like a leather strap like this. And they give the horse comfort through the middle because it spreads the weight through the carrying zone. There's more about that, obviously, about carrying, and people talk about whether or not, does it really spread the weight having this panel in the centre? Or how this works. But really, when you're looking at your anatomical girths or shapes like this, when it's on the horse and the horse is working well and you have it girthed up, generally the curve goes between the front legs. So this way round under your horse with their head where my head is. Yeah. And what you should see when it's riding round is that there should be consistent contact. So looking at it side on, the horse should be touching it here and touching it here. So if you're riding around, you see a big flap here, you've got the wrong shaped girth. If you're riding it around, there's a big flap here, you can get your hand in, you've got the wrong shaped girth. So anatomical isn't always the answer. The majority of the time it works really well. So I'd say 9 out of 10 horses I recommend an anatomical. However, sometimes it's not the answer. Now, on this particular horse that we're going to talk about, we put them into a Chicago dressage girth by John Whitaker. Yeah. So brilliant wee girth. I highly recommend it for certain horses and for certain scenarios. So in this scenario, the rider was in a Wintec. Now, anyone that knows me knows I'm not a big fan. They're synthetic for one, which doesn't give the horse a lot of breathability. The horse generally, you see more atrophy with horses that have been ridden in Wintecs for a very long time, or synthetic saddles that are synthetic against the horse. Just because the heat doesn't escape the same, so the muscle doesn't develop the way we want it to. And there's just lots of reasons why Wintec themselves as a saddle isn't one that I generally stock, and I won't take as trade-ins because I wouldn't recommend it onto the next horse. So anyway, she's ridden a Wintec her whole career of this horse. She has a GP and a dressage. The GP was a straight no. We couldn't work with that. I'm sorry, we couldn't. The dressage we could work with. The dressage had good contacts. There's lots of things we check when we're looking for the saddle fit. It's not just, is it right behind the shoulder? There's lots of people talk about that. But when I'm assessing your fit, I don't know if you can see this, but there's all of these boxes that we check through as to whether the current saddle works or doesn't work. And in this one, 8 out of 10 of the boxes were saying, yes, this is okay. And the couple that weren't okay, I knew we could probably do something to work with the current saddle, because we don't all have a budget to just go and buy a bespoke made dressage saddle for a horse. Our horses are very fortunate if they have a dressage and a GP or jump. And it's really important that we work within what the customer has when possible. So with this client, we could see that the saddle worked well. However, it was lifting ever so slightly behind. And in a ridden assessment, you could see a slight twist as the rider rode. So it was coming up away from the horse, which we wanted to do a little bit, but rather than a nice consistent return, it was coming left to right, left to right. So that's a couple of things that cause that. Horse's asymmetry will cause it, rider imbalance will cause it, but also the girthing mechanism will cause it if those two things are already playing part of this equation, so the rider asymmetry and the horse asymmetry, then we can use our girth to really correct that and make it we'll make it fit better. It might not ever be the perfect fit, but we can make it fit to the level where it's not affecting the horse adversely and it's giving the rider balance. So that's where this comes in. So with this particular horse, we were able to use a self-stabilising girth. So it's a dressage, this is a short girth. And using these two in a very clever manner where we actually raised the behind, the girth strap number 4, let's say, and number 2 stayed short, we were able to ensure that the twist in the saddle no longer occurred. So obviously with the monoflap or a dressage, we're a bit limited to how we girth because we have 2 long straps coming down and that's our only option. It's not like a standard dual flap where you might have 4 straps or 3 straps. So we can't do just as much playing with the girth to make sure things ride correctly. But the likes of this self-stabilising girth is an excellent option when you have limited options using a standard girth and what girth straps are available to you. So by adding this in, the rider felt a huge difference. She felt like she was with the horse instead of against the horse. She felt like she could concentrate on her own balance and the horse went forward. So for the price of a girth, we were able to make the current saddle work. and she was really happy with that. So hopefully that gives you a bit of information on that one, and I'll try to keep these going. If you find them really boring, you can let me know. If you find them interesting, you want to know some specific things about something you're dealing with yourself, please comment and let me know, and I'll make sure I can do a wee case study on that for you the next time. Thanks.